And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. It's May in sunny California, and it's going to be a hot one. But we're at the top of the morning right now, and it's beautiful outside, right? May is so many things, but we'll be talking about that in a minute. May is Mental Health Month, and I got someone lined up for you today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gayle Guest-Brown, CEO of Guest-Brown Impact, an award-winning leadership development firm where I work with women of color to overcome challenges to pay equity, leadership development, and all kinds of inequities in the workplace. I consider myself an equity leadership strategist and coach, and I love working on all the things that my sisters are impacted by in the workplace. So today, before we get started, I want to tell you that why I created Impactful Conversations. And I created Impactful Conversations to lift up and elevate the voices of Black women in our communities, because sometimes we just need to be reminded about how great we are. I got a beautiful guest lined up to speak to you today. At Guest-Brown Impact, our vision is women standing in their power, speaking their truths, and commanding their world. And our guest today is just one of such women. Because at Guest-Brown Impact, we truly believe that these inequities that we face everywhere, but especially in the workplace, those gender and racial inequities are simply the leadership challenge of our generation. They're not rocket science. It's just the will to get it done. We are the generation that can do this. All right. So I want to tell you a little bit before we get started today. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And we've got a lot of things going on. We've been through a lot as a country. We're just going through a lot, and so it's okay not to be okay, right? It's okay to take some time for yourselves. It's okay to have a bad day, and it's okay if you're less than perfect, because you know what? There's none perfect. The Bible says there is not one, right? And I've got this saying that says, it's not perfect, but it's perfect enough. And I got that from Carly Fiorina, which was the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, billion-dollar company at the time. And so it's okay to put yourself first, and it's okay to take a break for everything. And I guess I might as well peep my whole card, but I'm going to be taking a break. In June, we will not have a LinkedIn Live, right? We may not even have one in July, because I just need a break, and it's okay. I hope you will give yourself a break as well. Next slide, please. Now, I know as a community, we don't do this a lot, which is rest, right? Sometimes we need to rest. Sometimes we need to take time away. I love this. You have permission to not be helpful, right? You have permission to be unproductive and just be in your garden like this. Sometimes I work from here, and sometimes I just come to be in my garden, right? This is a great place to be in nature, to regulate your body, to offer your brain a break, because our brains are working all the time. It's okay to take some time in solitude to recharge. It's okay to be still and decompress. And it's okay to have alone time at home. All of these are okay. I give you permission. And I know we don't think about this a lot, but it's important to our health and our mental health. And so in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought I would share that with you. All right, so let's get on to our show. I have a wonderful guest I want to tell you a little bit about, Rhonda M. Smith, and she is with the California Black Health Network. She's the executive director, a nonprofit that works to advance health equity for Black Californians. Prior to this role, Rhonda was an independent consultant and led many successful health and equities initiatives for the BIPOC community. She's served in various nonprofit roles that include consultant, project director for Live Healthy, for the Live Healthy OC initiative, a 3-year initiative that was aimed to transform the model of care from a disease focused program treatment model to a prevention and wellness model, providing that whole person care approach. Before that initiative, she serves as the consultant and statewide project manager for the Susan G. Komen Circle of Promise, the California initiative, an intense 4-year effort to identify evidence-based strategies to decrease the high mortality rate of African American women diagnosed with breast cancer. Rhonda earned her MBA in marketing and operations from Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia and her BS degree in civil engineering from Virginia Tech. So Rhonda, if you don't know already, she's a woman of excellence. But let's bring Rhonda into the room. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's been a busy month.
It's been a busy year, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have seen you everywhere this month. Everywhere I turn, you are there. And you've got so many reasons to celebrate. There's so much to talk about with you.
Yes.
You've had such success this year. But I want to tell you, before I get started, I'd love to give my audience a chance to meet you beyond your impressive credentials and all the things you do, because beyond all that doing, we are people.
Yes.
So if you could tell us a little bit about your family, your people, where are your people from, Rhonda? Tell us where you're from.
So I was born, bred, and educated in Virginia, as you mentioned about the academic institutions that I attended. And right now I am sitting in my family home where I grew up for the majority of my life, here in Suffolk, Virginia, which, if you're not familiar with Virginia, it's in the southeastern part of the state, about 30 minutes from Virginia Beach and the ocean. My hometown borders North Carolina, so when you leave here, you're in the state of North Carolina. And so I grew up with two amazing parents, and as an only child, and a lot of extended family. I mean, my hometown, technically, when you look at land area, is the largest city in the state of Virginia, but it was a small town. Population-wise, it still is. But I grew up in a community that was a village, and definitely had a lot of extended family as I was growing up. And fortunately still have some of that. He's still here. So it's always good grounding and humbling when I come home. Even though both my parents are deceased now, I still have family and friends that are like family that are still here in my hometown, and even neighbors that I've known practically all my life, which I won't say how long that is. Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, great.
I appreciate that. I didn't know you were back home. I'm so glad you're back there. It's always so grounding to be back to where it all began, right?
Yes.
And so, but you use the word bread, and I don't hear that very often. I was, raised and bred here, and so awesome. But I'm glad to have you here today. You have had so much to celebrate. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your family.
Sure.
I saw you just recently. I do want to talk about the Black Health Agenda, so let's not stop. Let's not forget to do that. But recently I saw you, and I came to your 40th anniversary of California Black Health Network, and that was such an event downtown at the Mix. And you have so many people there, including Shirley Weber,
Yes.
Secretary of State, right?
Yes.
And your whole team was there. You had speakers, you spoke. It was just a beautiful event. What do you want to tell us about that?
Well, that whole first week of May was, significant and monumental for us in a number of ways. And so it all culminated with that 40th anniversary celebration event that you attended. But leading up to that moment, we began the week with a rally for the Health Equity and Racial Justice Fund.
Wow.
We brought 11 of our 13 Health Equity Advocacy Training Program cohort members to Sacramento to put all their learning into action and to meet with their state representatives so that they could advocate for issues that are impacting their community and hopefully bring about change. And so we wanted to give them an opportunity to experience what that's like and, for them to feel empowered and know that, as a constituent, they have the right to go visit their representatives, and not only in Sacramento, but in DC as well. So we wanted them to know that they can do that and how to do that, and then what to say when you have the opportunity to be in front of either staffers or the representatives themselves. And then we also had an opportunity to be in the assembly on the floor to witness the vote of a resolution that we have been working on for about a year and a half with the CLBC, or the California Legislative Black Caucus members, to get a resolution passed to declare the first week of May, and the particular May 1st through 5th of 2023, and every first week of May thereafter as Black Health Equity Advocacy Week in California. And so now going forward, we will have the opportunity to uplift, what is happening in the Black community from a health equity, or really health inequity standpoint, and the disparities that have so long plagued our community across the state. And then really go to Sacramento every year, take our cohort members from the Health Equity Advocacy Training Program to do the same thing that the inaugural cohort did, to really advocate for issues, amplify their voice, reflect what the constituents in the communities where the representatives are from, the issues they need to be focusing on and need to bring about change around. So we won't have a 40th anniversary next year, but we may have some sort of event, as part of the culmination of that week. But, I think COVID really opened the door and put a spotlight on what is happening in the Black community in general, but definitely the impact that COVID had. But I think now more people know about the fact that there are health disparities that impact not only the Black community, but the Hispanic and other brown communities as well. So, but we want to do our part as a California Black Health Network to really uplift that and bring greater attention and awareness to that for the Black community across California.
Wow, Rhonda, you said a lot there, and I just want to applaud you. That is quite a milestone. It's historical, right? To have a whole week where you get to now go back to the Capitol and advocate for the concerns, right? Like, you could have done it now, but now they are expecting you. You can organize around it, right? So, and
Right.
every year there'll be a focus on it. So
And yeah, thank you. And we hope that not only, there's activities during that week in Sacramento, but eventually I hope and envision that there will be activities throughout the state in major cities, and especially the 10 counties where we're doing the Black Health Agenda work, which we'll talk about, I know, shortly. So,
The 10 counties,
yes,
10 counties in California?
yes,
Awesome.
yes.
Are those the 10 counties that are the most populated with people of color?
So we chose the 10 counties that we're doing the work in based on the actual, percent population of African Americans and Black immigrants in those counties, as well as looking at the Healthy Places Index to really get a sense of what the degree of health disparities are in those counties as well.
Wow, some good work. So kudos to you and your team. You are really doing it. I think I've only known you for 2 years, but ever since you've been in California, you have been creating milestones and creating more and more opportunities to bring this issue forward. COVID was the impetus, but you are definitely doing your part to leverage that momentum and keep it going. I've seen you everywhere. I just recently saw you in the
Uh,
Sacramento Observer, right?
yes, thank you. And I can't wait to get my copy. Yes.
I know, right? The first page marks 40 years of standing up for Black health on this side, and on this side, the Black Health Advocacy Week, and that it's going to be happening every year. So awesome job! I can't wait to send this to you. I just got it yesterday. So awesome work. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, awesome work. And so the other thing, I want to make sure we don't leave. We don't leave without talking about the Black Health Agenda, because that is why you were formed, right? To make sure that.
So the organization was actually founded in 1978 and became a 501c3 in 1983. So our 40th anniversary really was the celebration of that milestone of officially being a nonprofit for 40 years. And so from the very beginning, the California Black Health Network was focused on really improving the health and well-being of Black Californians. And, over the past 4 decades or so, that has, kind of morphed and formed into a lot of different programs and activities, based on the leadership and the team that was in place during that time frame. And so the Black Health Agenda, actually, the first iteration was published in 2019. And that was the result of a series of community convening events and listening sessions that were happening across the state for about a year and a half or two. And ironically, I participated in the Black Health Agenda session in Oakland, and I think it was 2018. And so I would say that the Black Health Agenda is the flagship project for CBHN. And obviously, COVID just kind of, changed everything in a lot of ways, including that. And this time around, again, we're being very intentional and deliberate about where we're going, who we're involving in the process, what is the outcome of that process, and the implementation of what comes out of that process as well. So, we've spent a lot of time doing a landscape analysis of the 10 counties that we are doing this work in. We've been very intentional about engaging key stakeholders from those counties in the process. And this is my 4-legged child who's resting herself at the moment. And so we wanted to make sure that there was definitely community engagement and support and commitment and participation from the very beginning. And so one of the other bigger differences this time around is that very thing. And so instead of CBHN delivering the sessions and facilitating everything, we actually have individuals who have lived experiences every single day in those counties actually presenting and talking about the state of Black health in their respective counties, and then facilitating the afternoon sessions that focus on doing a deeper dive in the 5 key health areas that we focus on, which are cancer, mental health, Black maternal health, the impact of COVID, and also the social determinants of health. They emerged as sort of the 5 common themes based on our landscape analysis of those key counties that we're focusing on.
Awesome. I heard mental health in there, breast cancer, and what was the other one?
So it's mental health, Black maternal health, cancer, the impact of COVID, and then social determinants of health. Awesome.
Oh my goodness. Hold on just a second.
Yes, a little toasty up there in Sacramento today, huh?
No, it's lizard family. Family of lizard, not just one. Oh my goodness.
They want to join the party too in the conversation.
Hey, if you want to be in nature, you gotta take all of nature, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for working on these important issues and making sure that our voices and our issues are, being thought about and, lifted up in front of the people that can help us overcome. When I was at your event, I wonder if this would be a good time to share the spoken word. It's not really a spoken word piece. It kind of flowed like a spoken word, but a testimony really of one of your folks. And I wonder if you would introduce her.
Sure.
Yeah.
So her name is Tony McNeil, and Tony is one of our inaugural cohort members of the Health Equity Advocacy Training Program. We actually call it HEAT for short, because we do want people to go back to their communities and turn up the heat to, advocate and drive change. And so she's a HEAT participant. She's also a member of our network, and she was also a facilitator for the San Joaquin County Black Health Agenda session that we hosted back in February of last year. And, I've gotten to know Tony, and she has an amazing story and journey. And I asked her to give her testimony at the 40th anniversary event and talk about her experience with CBH and what that means to her. And so thank you for taking that video, because I don't know that we actually, I think we may have captured that moment, but we don't have the final footage from the photographer yet. So thank you.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So she's, it was kind of impromptu, but Tony says that she's a shy person and she doesn't like speaking in public. But whenever she stands up and opens her mouth, she does an amazing job and is very authentic. And so that's what you'll see in the video.
Thank you. Has a great presence. She's very tall.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Yes. Cue the video.
I was born in poverty. I was a product of domestic violence. I was a survivor of molestation and incest. I was a product of the war on crime, war on drugs, 3 strikes law, all of that. I was the ride or die on the passenger side of the car. That's who I was. I probably am still a little bit of that, because you can't get the hood out of everybody, what have you. That's where I'm from. That's why the concrete gravitates to me. But I was a survivor, or I am a survivor of domestic violence, but I was in domestic violence. I was a byproduct of all of that. I grew up with individuals in my family that have died from cancer and diabetes and had amputated limbs and asthma. I was an asthmatic child. I was in a food desert. I was limited on having health care. I had open wounds on my legs. I've had all of these different things. I've been severely obese. I was in poverty and not having housing with my 4 children. I was all of these different things. Why am I saying who I was and who I am now? Because I didn't have the resources. I didn't have this network. I didn't have the help that I needed to know that I wasn't the problem.
Come on now.
I thought I was the problem. I thought I was the reason why we had health issues. I thought I was to blame for my children, all 4 of them having asthma. I thought that was my fault. I didn't know it was an environmental issue. I didn't know that it was because of my demographic, it was because of where I lived. I didn't know that my children suffer and struggle with obesity to this day because the conditions that we lived in with welfare and food stamps limited my access to healthy food and healthy food options. I didn't know how to eat healthy. I had to go outside of my environment in order to get the help that I need. And it wasn't until I got in programs like the California Black Health Network that I began to connect the dots. I am an organizer, been doing it for 10 years, but did not have the connecting of the dots. Since I didn't know. I didn't know that gun violence and healthcare are connected. Y'all nodding your head, but I'm telling you, you got organizers out there that's pushing the line in order to make changes on policies, but don't know that health and mental health is a determining factor, that these are connected.
Well, she is powerful, right? She connects the dots.
Definitely far from shy, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think she just flowed. I'm so glad I was just had my camera going at the time. I didn't get her whole talk, but I got a lot of it. And she's a powerful advocate and speaker for you all. So,
yeah, and I think, when I talked about social determinants of health, that was definitely part of her story. And, that those are the factors that contribute to, health outcomes or the conditions under which people live in certain communities, right? And then those factors lead to health outcomes that result in health disparities. And I think a key thing that she also said was around policies. And, I talk about the fact that, programs come and go, but policies have lasting change. And when we think about, our voice and the opportunity to amplify our voice and have an impact in our communities, participating in the process, not just around advocacy, but policy is also important. And there's a number of ways that can happen. One way is participating in the election process, right? And we all think presidential elections are important, but I think state and local elections are even more important in terms of how it impacts our lives every day. I mean, we see that in Florida and Texas and Arizona and some of the other states in the middle of the country. And so when we think about policies, right? So policies dictate investment or disinvestment in certain communities, or what happens in terms of development and support and resources for certain that are allocated to certain communities. And then those policies create that infrastructure, and that infrastructure leads to the creation of the social determinants of health, right? Either positive or negative. And again, that results in creating that environment that people live in and leading to, the ultimate outcome and results of health disparities. But people determine policy. And if we elect the right people to represent our best interest, then we can participate that way. We can participate by going to visit our representatives and, representing, representation does matter. So I just wanted to point that out, because Tony, I think, hit on a lot of important points about that. And you can see how empowered she has become. Just because now she's connected to the network. She had an opportunity
she has more knowledge.
She has more knowledge, right? Yeah. And access to more resources.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was powerful. That was powerful. We've been throwing around the word that I hear a lot, and I know you do, but I want to break that down for our audience.
Yep.
You've been using the word social determinants of health. Can you break that down for our audience?
Yes. So that relates to the socioeconomic factors like your education level, your income level, access to basic resources and needs like fresh produce and groceries. If you live in a food desert, right, that's part of that. If you live in a medical desert, that's part of that. And then one of the things that I was in a different conversation yesterday about environmental sustainability and environmental justice and the intersection between that and health equity. And so I think when we talk about social determinants of health, right, we don't really factor into that the environmental factors or environmental justice. And we should, just based on what Tony said, because we know that unfortunately a person's zip code dictates the length of life and their quality of life, and that should never happen. And so we also know that a lot of that stems from things that, something that happened in policies from decades ago around redlining. I think we all think top of mind that redlining would have impacted our access to home ownership. Right. Yes, that is the case. But also what had happened as a result of redlining is it allowed organizations and companies to build manufacturing plants and other industrial facilities
in our communities, in
those communities where Black folks live. Even the National Highway Act, even as much as it improved our transportation system, it, destroyed Black communities, very, thriving Black communities. And so when we look at communities where that has happened, we see a lot of respiratory issues and asthma and other health issues that have ensued because of the, fumes and exhaust and particulate matter that results from, trucks and cars, running through
your neighborhood.
Right. So all those things contribute to, the social determinants of health, right?
Thank you for breaking that down.
Sure.
So Rhonda, you do a lot of important work. And I'm wondering about your why.
My why?
Yeah, your why. You've been working on health inequities and disparities for a long time now.
Yeah.
So what motivates you? What's your why?
Well, I'll tell you how I got here, right? So I went from being an engineer to doing work for a nonprofit in health equity. And that was never part of my aspiration. I don't even think I didn't learn about health disparities until around 2008, or shortly after that, when I was living in Miami at the time. And so, I was a consultant for 20 years, an independent consultant for 20 years before stepping back into the workforce. The second half of that time, I did work in health education, and health disparities. And I got there because of my own health issue. In 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and put me on a totally different path, obviously, than what I started doing was doing the first 10 years of that. And, I started doing health and wellness education for women diagnosed with breast cancer in Miami. And I had the opportunity to work as a consultant on an NCI-funded research study that was focused specifically on the diverse population of Black women in South Florida. As if you know, there's Black, Latina, Haitian, very diverse Black population in South Florida. And so it wasn't until then that I, had no idea about health disparities or that even existed. Because when I grew up in my community, all of my healthcare providers looked like me. And so, there was no experience around unfair treatment or, what happened when I went to see a healthcare provider. And so when I learned about health disparities, I became really intrigued. And this was specifically related to breast cancer outcomes in South Florida. I became really intrigued with that. And this shouldn't happen. And, in a country like the US, where we all should have access to healthcare coverage and should be treated fairly. And of course, as much as we've evolved as a country, we should be treated that way. But no, that's not everybody's reality. And so I wanted to do more work in that space and just couldn't find opportunities in South Florida, and had a relative who was living in LA at the time and convinced me to move to LA for the land of better opportunities. And so I say I moved to LA to pursue my dreams, or California and specifically LA, to pursue my dreams, but not in entertainment, in the health and wellness space. And so, it was because of moving to California and searching for opportunities in the health equity space, and initially breast cancer projects is how I got into this business, so to speak. And so the passion just grew because of kind of what I saw and what I witnessed, and what my own personal experience was completely opposite of some of the women that I interacted with and got to know when I was living in Miami and since California. So, I think I grew up in a family and a community that was always well connected and always gave back and always supported each other and was there no matter what. And so I feel the same way about my community and wanting to give back, uplift, help people not die from things they shouldn't be dying. Yeah.
Right.
So I guess that's my why. A long answer to your question, but that's my why and how I got here.
Explains a lot, right? And it became real for you, and you wanted to help others not have to have that reality, right?
Right.
Things that were preventable, and had you known a little bit more about it, you want to make sure people are aware.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that spirit, that give back spirit, right? Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And speaking of work, we also will be joining each other in July. I understand that just today, the Sacramento Business Journal announced the awards for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the DEI award. And we're both in the paper. So I'm there as an individual and you're there as an organization. So congratulations to us.
And congratulations to you too. Yes, thank you. Yes, once again, we'll be on stage together.
Yes. Oh, that's right. It's the second time, right?
Yes.
Wow, Rhonda, the universe keeps putting us together. I think it's time you come to my house. I think we need to do drinks or lunch or something.
Yes,
right?
I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So when I come to Sacramento in July, I will take you up on that invitation.
All right, let's do it.
Sit out on the patio with you.
Yes.
Lizards excluded, and enjoy some
libation. But if you bring Meatball, they won't come around. Because Meatball will run them away.
Right? Yeah, well, Meatball is my road dog, so she'll be there.
Yeah, you bring Meatball and we'll be all right out here.
All right.
Meatball
that's a deal.
Will protect us. Will protect us. That is a deal. Awesome. Speaking of work, we also will be joining each other in July. I understand that just today, the Sacramento Business Journal announced the awards for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the DEI award. And we're both in the paper. So I'm there as an individual and you're there as an organization. So congratulations to us. I don't have any detail on that award. Do you have any detail on that
All I
award
know
in
is
terms
that,
of why it's awarded or?
so I guess it's a recognition. So I think individuals as well as organizations get nominated. I have no idea who nominated us, but I'm very grateful for whoever
Yeah,
did.
thanks.
So I guess based on the nomination and what
Mhm.
is communicated in that nomination, they base their selection on that. So there are a few other organizations, along with the California Black Health Network, that are acknowledged and will be honored this year, and a few other individuals along with you too. So
Yeah.
all I know is that it's on July 20th. I'm not sure what time of day, but I think more information became available yesterday.
I know it'll be a lunch, so we'll have lunch then. But maybe we should
Yes.
do something after lunch. How about that?
Yes, that will be fine. I think that July 20th is on a Thursday, so it'll be Friday Eve, I think. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, we'll
yes.
do
So
that
after
Friday Eve.
sounds
We'll
perfect.
celebrate together.
Yeah.
CBHN has done such wonderful work in our community. I know you deserve every award that you've ever gotten, which is significant. That's all I see you is getting awarded and acknowledged these days. So I'm happy for you. You guys are putting in the work and you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. And so are you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to be appreciated, right?
It certainly is.
It
Yes.
doesn't happen every day.
I know. I think sometimes we get lost in the work that we're doing, that we're passionate about, that we don't take a moment to really stop and think about the impact that we're having, and the lives that we may, influence or have,
Yes.
some effect on. So
Absolutely. We are both hardworking ladies. But Rhonda, I'm wondering, what's your go-to in terms of rest? What do you do when you want to rest and rejuvenate?
aside from catching up on sleep, right?
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
sleep is important.
Yeah. So, sleep is very underrated. Yeah. But for me, so where I live is also intentional. Since I've left Virginia, I've always lived in a city by the water or ocean. And so I grew up 30 minutes from the ocean here in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
I lived in Miami Beach for 12 years before I moved to LA.
Lady.
And so I was a 5-minute walk away from the beach there. I'm about 5-10 minute walk away from the beach where I live. And so being near the ocean is very therapeutic for me. And so being near water is very therapeutic, but definitely the ocean. And so, just being outside, going for a walk on the beach with or without my dog is always kind of my go-to thing. I used to ride my bike a lot, but now I need a new bike. But once I get a new bike, I will do that, because for some reason, being on my bike and being out in the fresh air also helps breed some creative thought for me. I miss having that experience. So, but yeah, I think those are my two go-to things. And I also like to travel, but when I do travel, I like taking vacations to the beach too. So.
Definitely a beach baby. Me too. I love the beach. It's where I can go, and just the rhythm of the ocean back and forth just reminds me of God's majesty. And I also feel small, and my problems feel small at the beach. In the grand scheme of things, I'm just one person. But I love the beach, and it's about 2 hours from Sacramento. Sometimes I will go alone. I will get up in the morning and drive to the beach and sleep for about a half hour, and then I'm there. I take all kind of stuff to read, and I don't read anything. I just sit there and look at the water, and I'll take walks on the beach. I'll have to take you and Meatball to one beach it's actually Muir Beach, but I call it Dog Beach, because that's all that's on there. People walking their dogs.
yeah. She would like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Let's see. What else do I want to talk to Rhonda about? Last thing is, do you have any quotes, slogans, or mottos that you live by?
Yeah, and hopefully I'll get it right this time. I was in a conversation with, I think it was my team last week, and we were talking about every Monday we have a staff meeting, and we always start with a check-in and a message that we call Motivational Monday message. And so I was talking, I believe it was last week, about how we respond to things in life, and I say, and something that my dad used to say, and something he gave me many years ago is, life is about 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it, and really attitude is everything. No matter what challenges or situations that you may be facing, I think your attitude as you are taking that head on really makes the difference. No matter what happens to you, or circumstances you're dealing with, or situation that you're involved in. And I think, underneath or underlying that is like we always have a choice, right? In terms of how we respond to people, situations, anything that happens in our lives. So I would just, focus on like that message.
Awesome. That's a good motto. Attitude is everything, right?
Yeah.
Good motto. That's the only thing we have a choice over, how we're gonna maneuver in this circumstance.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to keep in mind
Right.
even where people are dealing with really severe illnesses. Attitude counts, right?
Right. And what I say, even when I was going through my own breast cancer journey and doing more breast cancer work, I would say you can either choose to be victorious or you can choose to be the victim. And still underneath that is about your attitude. And, one of the things that I really observed is when I was working more one-on-one with women, especially when I was in South Florida, is that the women who had more of that victim mentality suffered more and encountered more side effects and more issues and challenges with their breast cancer journey than women who, took charge, took control, and were, even empowered despite their situation. And it's a tough, it's tough to hear you have cancer, but again, you can choose how you take that on and deal with that situation.
Yeah, it's so true. I lost a good friend this year. She lived with cancer. The first round, her name is Denise Prescott, but the first round, she took all the chemo, she did all of that, and she really didn't like the side effects. So when it came back, she decided she wasn't going to do all that, and she was going to live with cancer, and she lived right up to the end with cancer, right? And she still did all the things she loved. She still enjoyed. She did ski trips with us. She wasn't skiing, but she came, and she enjoyed all the people she loved in her life. And attitude makes such a big difference and longevity. And she lived twice as long as they told her she had to live, right? Just, I think, pure will and attitude, right?
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. So thank you for those words. And we are going to take a little bit of break. And Rhonda, it has been a pleasure. Always enjoy spending time with you. Is there anything you want us to know before we take this break and go? We do have a book to give away. Please put your name in the chat if you want to be considered for the giveaway. And we will reach back to you and get your address and mail it to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So the only thing I say, please follow us on social media. It's very easy. It's at Your CBHN on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're on LinkedIn as well as the California Black Health Network. You can become a member of the Black Health Network, and you can also join us in the campaign for Black Health Equity. So if anything is going to change in our community, right, it has to be about us, for us, and by us. And so I welcome everybody to, join in on the campaign so that we can, change our health story. And, 5 years down the road, it's not that 5.5 year gap in life expectancy, but maybe 2 years of a gap in life expectancy because of all of us working together to make.
I saw that statistic you're quoting in the paper. It said that Black Californians, the life expectancy is 76.2 years, 5 years shorter than the state average.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And
so
it shouldn't be that way, but we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do. We got work to do. Well, thank you so much. If you give us a few minutes, we'll look at names to give this book giveaway. But please drop Marina. Please drop her links into the comments. I know you have them. And then let's take a look at the giveaway. I'll tell you a little bit about the book. So this is my book. I wrote it in 2019. Just my gift to the domestic violence field. Like Rhonda, I had a big why around helping others to survive and escape those situations. So this book was my gift to the field as I exited the field after 12 years. Girl, Get It Right, an impact guide to creating the life you want. And it's a great book for anyone in transition, anyone who wants to do do more with this one little life we've been given. We've got one little life and we might as well do the most, right? And it's a matter of planning and believing and trusting yourself. But also I included this comment I got on April 11th from my cousin. I had gifted her the book and she was in jury. She was going to court that day. She was in a courtroom when she opened the book. And that book starts with me in court, right? As I was getting ready to change my life, I had to testify against my ex-husband. And a lot of women didn't do that. They went to court to ask the court to forgive them so their husbands could get back to work. But not me. I was going to court to make sure they kept him, that they didn't release him on bond or anything else. I went to court to let them know my life was in danger if they let him out. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But my life took a turn then. I didn't know where it was going, but I'm so glad that I had the strength to do that. And so this book starts there, but it talks about a little bit of snippets, but there are 4 original artworks from local artists. There are a lot of quotes, some of my favorite quotes that helped me get through that time. And just some words of wisdom and some exercises to help you overcome your current situation or change or transition to a new situation. So we're giving away that book. Please put your name in the chat and we will do a raffle and contact you. All right. And so with that being said, we'll come right back. Give us a few minutes and we'll come back and close out the show. Thank you. Recently, we had a celebration from the Command Your Worth Blueprint of our ladies who joined that cohort last year. It was a cohort mentorship program, and we participated in their celebration. We recorded some LinkedIn Lives. You can see in the middle of the page, we did a spa day. The ladies at my favorite spa in Sacramento, been going there for, 25 years. Aesthetics by Jeanette. A lot of people don't know about it, but by Country Club Mall, great little place. And then we took our headshots as part of Command Your Worth Blueprint. The VIPs got 4 shots, and the other folks who joined got 2 shots, headshots. Took them to my favorite photographer, and they had these are some behind the scenes looks at their photo shoots. And we also went to lunch at one of my favorite places, Zocala's. Ended up being Cinco de Mayo, so that seemed appropriate. Had a great food. And then this was optional. Everybody didn't go, but we went salsa dancing on Cinco de Mayo. Andrika, one of our participants, is a salsa instructor. It was so nice to see her do her thing. But I just want to say congratulations to the participants at Command Your Worth Blueprint. And hopefully we'll have another one next year. All right. So, that is it for now. I want to say that in the next LinkedIn Live, I'm going to take my own medicine. I'm going to take some time for rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation. So we will not have a LinkedIn Live in June. I may just take July off. I will let you know. And we will definitely be back in August. All right. And I'm hoping to interview Clasari Henderson, someone I serve on the board with. I've been on the board of directors for the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence for about 6 years. And she is our board president. I'm the treasurer. But we will come back definitely in August, maybe in July. We'll see. But it's summertime. I hope you all take some time to relax and rejuvenate and recover so that we can come back strong and finish the year strong. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I always love being together with Rhonda Smith, but it's been a pleasure today, and I hope to see you in a couple of months. Over and out. I'll see you soon.
And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again for you.